Noise, discarded items, zombies, and even animals could be signs that a player is nearby. I'll show you how to recognize the clues and how to leave as few as possible for others to find. Starting with the obvious and moving towards the more subtle. Listen for gunshots. They are a surefire indicator of player presence. With experience, you will learn to gauge the distance and even recognize the sound each weapon makes. If you hear chewing, shivering, a door opening, a magazine being loaded, a grenade landing at your feet, basically any noise that only survivors can make, then there is a player very close to your position. Same goes for proximity check, of course. Listen to footsteps. The infected move in a pattern. Players don't. Learn to recognize the difference. And of course, if it's in the middle of nowhere where the infected don't spawn, then it's a player for sure. If you hear or see the infected aggro and then run anywhere but towards you, then there is a player nearby. That is of course true unless they're chasing livestock. If you see a zombie with its elbows raised to shoulder height staring intently forward, then a player aggroed it. If that player had left the area before you arrived, then the zombie would have despawned. This is almost certainly a sign that there is a player around. The exception is once again farm animals. Seeing a pig will send a Zed into a rage. The easiest way to check for player presence in towns and villages is from a distance. You've probably noticed that zombies only spawn once you get closer. The distance that causes the infected to spawn is roughly 300 meters. If you're much further than that and see zombies, someone's there. If you're lucky, you might even see the player or players that cause them to spawn straight away. Always check if you can see smoke coming from a chimney when approaching what is left of civilization. The player who lit the fire might still be inside the house. Occasionally this might be a trap. Someone stoked the fire and is waiting nearby to ambush you. Also check around the well and any building that spawn high value loot like a police station, hospital, or military. Sometimes there is no practical approach that will allow you to scout out the area you're about to enter from a distance. By the time you see the first buildings, you're already close, and the infected you see might be yours. Now you need to check if you see any dead ones. Zombies killed by players will despawn quickly when the player leaves the area, so if you find dead ones, the player who killed them is most likely still around. Another indicator of possible player presence is open doors. At the very least, this will tell you that the area's been looted already. If all the doors are open, then someone's been through there since the most recent server restart. This is because a server restart will cause all doors, except locked ones, to open or close randomly. Sometimes players look for a specific item, like a car battery or a saw, and they might skip buildings that don't spawn these items. Are all the shed and garage doors open? Then a player might be around looting even if some of the doors on houses are closed. Random discarded loot on the ground is a sign that someone's been there. Did you find a civilian hat or a hiking backpack somewhere where they don't spawn, like a military tent? That means a player's dropped it there and might still be around. The same is true if you find a partially used item like a sharpening stone or a sewing kit. These always spawn full and players might swap the one in their inventory for a full one they found. Some items only spawn once a player has spent some time nearby, like mushrooms in the forest or near hay bales, fallen fruit under trees, and small stones on hiking trails and railways. Danger might be right around the next bend if you're following a hiking path littered with stones. Wild animals will leg it out of there if disturbed. This is a rare but quite obvious sign that someone is around. They run away in a more or less straight line, so you can use this to estimate where the intruder is lurking. Foxes make a distinct whine when a player passes them by. It seems loud when you're near, but it has a very limited range of roughly 50 meters. If you hear wolves howling, they are hunting a player who's in the area, and that player could be you. Sometimes you might see animals running away because they're being chased by wolves, not because a player disturbed them. There exists something of a cumulative effect to finding the clues. One can be a coincidence, but two or more is often a pattern. Finding a mushroom doesn't mean you're being watched, but finding one mushroom after another as you move through the forest and then coming up on animal remains means you're on someone's trail. This leads us to how to use this info to stay hidden, or at least to be aware that there are signs betraying our presence to others. If you enter a lootable area, then zombies will spawn there. There's no way around it. What you can do is avoid aggroing zombies by going around them, and if you do aggro them, then avoid killing them. Try leading them to a shed or a building and closing the door. It's less obvious than leaving a DayZ in the middle of the road. If you decide to fight them hand to hand, it might be worth leading them indoors first. If there's a player aiming at you, then hitting you out in the open mid-fight with an infected makes for a relatively easy shot. Never stand still in the open unless you long for the coast. If you need to cook your food but don't need to dry your clothes or get heat buffs, then use a couple of rags as fuel, not sticks or firewood. The fire will go out quickly and the chimney will stop smoking, making it look like just any other house again. You can then finish cooking on the hot coals. I've cooked an entire stag on 2 rags. You can always add more fuel and reignite the fire if needed. You can also discard unwanted items in the fire rather than dropping them where they can be seen by others. Dumping them in a forest under a tree or in a bush also works, or even dropping them where they spawn naturally. The idea is to avoid the proverbial trail of breadcrumbs leading to your location. Doing this might seem excessive, but I followed a trail of player activity like this before, found the player's tent, and eventually the house they were cooking in. Dude, how did you manage to blow yourself up that day? I'm still wondering. If you're hunting an animal that requires a powerful weapon to kill, like a stag, then consider attaching a suppressor to your gun first. You can craft one by combining a plastic bottle and a duct tape. The quieter option to feed yourself in the wilderness is fishing. You can make a fishing rod by combining a long stick and a rope, and crafting a fishing hook out of bones or short stick using a blade. Dig up worms out of the ground for bait. The downside of fishing is that it requires you to stay still for a relatively long period of time near a body of water where other players might come for water or to fish. If you're attacked by wolves, try to kill them using a suppressed weapon to avoid revealing your position. You could also move to a nearby shed, building, or a deer stand when you hear them coming your way. You can then shoot or hit them through a window, a doorway, or from the elevated position on a deer stand. That said, wolves can do a lot of damage quickly by hitting your head. Occasionally, you won't get any warning whatsoever. Recently, a pack of wolves approached me without making a sound. Within seconds, they gave me 3 bleeds and dropped my health to red. I quickly used my shotgun to dispatch them. If I had faffed around with a suppressed pistol instead, I would have almost certainly died. As you can see, this is all circumstantial. There are many situations when simply disregarding all stealth is the better option, like if you're already running from someone shooting at you or about to die to wolves. And there's of course your playstyle and preference. Personally, I find it a huge advantage being the one who fires the first shot. When nobody suspects you're around, you can take your time and wait for the right moment to fire. And if you're looking for a friendly interaction, then coming up to the player and announcing yourself via voice chat can be the first sign that they can trust you. You managed to sneak up on them and chose to talk instead of ambushing them. The main argument against using stealth is sacrificing speed. It's slower to crouch run than to sprint. It's slower to go around zombies than right past them. However, if you aggro zombies, you need to deal with them in some way, which can leave you vulnerable on top of costing extra time. It draws attention to you and might reveal your position in situations where you'd have otherwise remained hidden. Another point is that a slower target is easier to hit, so keep in cover whenever possible while sneaking around. There's also the magnitude of your actions to consider. If you just fire several unsuppressed shots with your assault rifle, then there really isn't much point in hiding unwanted items in a bush. You might want to leave the town quickly and maybe observe from a tree line on a hill to see if anyone comes to investigate. The simplified conclusion in DayZ terms is this: the longer you stay in one place, the more likely you are to die. The more evidence you leave, the more likely you are to die. Based on that, the rule of thumb is to go as fast as you can while leaving behind as few clues as possible. How exactly you'll balance the two is up to you. Let me know how you managed to track a player or how you stayed hidden in a tough situation. I love DayZ stories. Thank you for watching until the end. If you found this video useful, then please give it a like. And remember, someone's always watching.